Hey all, Heretic here, and today in the Battlegrounds we're going to be talking about duos. Now, we're not going to be revealing cards, we're not going to be talking about strats or tips. Well, a little bit I guess about tips, but really this is about how to play the mode. So this is for the person who has no clue at all. You're sitting there and you're like, well, I've heard about it, but what is it? And we're going to go into each different step of the game, and we're not going to watch an entire game because there's a bunch of videos where you can do that, where you see someone do an amazing combo and they will blow your mind and make you think you have no chance of ever playing this game successfully at their level of skill. We're going to do a walkthrough that gets you through how it works. That way there's not any big surprises. And if at some point during your games, after this video is out, you think of something we missed, please leave a comment, because that way I can go back and I can't add it, but we can at least put it in the comment sections and we can pin it. That way people know to expect that thing. We're going to be getting into highlights and how-tos and other things later on in the meta once we actually understand it. But for right now, since I got to play yesterday in the early access event, let's just cover the basics for you. That way there's no huge surprises. Now, one of the fundamental features of this mode is going to be passing. Now, we have a little experience with this, but I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot more to uncover in nuances and ways we can do this. But typically, when you pass a card, you will take it from your hand, you'll place it in the portal, it will charge you 1 gold, you must have a gold, and then it will appear in your teammate's hand. If your teammate has a full hand, it will activate like a spellcraft card. Thus, once space is made, it will fill a slot in. So don't worry about giving your teammate too many cards. They've already built that in, so you won't waste them. Thank you, because that'd be horrible. But a couple other things. There are lots of other ways to pass cards via hero powers, spells, minion abilities. There's a lot of different things that are going to allow you to take the cards you have on your board, in your hand, or just generate them and then pass them and give them to your teammates. So you really need to think about this, because sometimes you're going to triple into nothing that's good. But when you look at your teammate's board, it might be the perfect fit. So you really need to think when you get a triple, it's like, okay, well, it's garbage. Oh, wait a minute. What I've got's good for them. And maybe they tripled at the same time. They're like, oh wait, no, I got nothing good, but what I got is good for them. Or maybe one is too strong, the other one's incredibly weak, and the one who's stronger still finds a card that will make his teammate weak. This passing mechanic is going to be so important for this game. You need to really clearly communicate with your teammate what you're doing, what you want to do, and what you found, so you can coordinate together while trying to do the various shot phase mechanics that you're normally doing to get the optimal setup. Now, the method at which you play really is going to define how this game goes for you, at least in the early stages of it, for enjoyment. Now, here's what I mean. There's a couple ways you can queue, and let's start with the easiest one, I feel. This is where you have a friend and you invite them to a group. So you go to the duo section, you go to your friends list, you invite them to a Battlegrounds group, you're setting yourself up for duos, you're all set. So now you're in a team, you hit play, and it's going to go and find a lobby to put you in. During that game, the way to communicate I would advise is voice chat, be it Discord, if you're playing on PC using the voice system that works in Battle.net, any way you want to talk with your friends, Skype, you name it, whatever works for you, communicate with your friend via voice, because there's a lot to convey and you're going to get a feel for it really quick. You're going to jump into this game and be like, if we couldn't talk about it, how do we do this? And it's going to make it tough if you just use the emote system. So let's jump into that emote system now. This would probably be the really subpar way you could play with a friend, but also the way you could play with someone who you can't voice chat with. So this would be if you're queuing by yourself and it's putting you with a random person as a teammate, or a friend who couldn't voice chat for whatever reason. You'd be using emotes. And these are the emotes that you would be using. You'd be clicking, which ones you want, which ones you don't want, positive, negative, but you'd be trying to convey a lot of different things with just the small, very small number of indicators. There's no chat program. They're not gonna be typing out full sentences or phrases or thought processes. You are just gonna have these few emotes to convey an entire game of Battlegrounds, what you're trying to do. Yeah, you definitely can develop a shorthand where you're both used to it and you're going to have a good time and you'll be all set. Queuing with a random person, that's going to be harder. So having played 6 hours of this mode with someone in voice chat, I personally never want to play this using the emote system to communicate. Maybe this will work great for you. Maybe I'm just slow and you're going to be like, hey, this is easy, Heretic. What are you talking about, old man? I've got this. I've got everything queued up. All my friend understands what I want to do. But for me, I would find this far too difficult to do. And at the end, I feel like all my hair would turn white and fall out. Well, halfway there. And just to show you that this is still an evolving system and we're still figuring things out, Celestalon just put out a very good tip. If you queue up solo and would like to chat with your partner, you could try sending them a friend request from a recent player list at the start of the game. After a couple of combats, they'll have scrolled off the recent player list, so you have to do it early if you want to do it, but they are looking into making this a permanent change of some sort, so at least it lasts a little longer, hopefully. But I mean, this is going to make it so we can get communicating with our random teammates, if we choose to do that, a little faster. And anything that makes the experience more positive is good. And now that we know how to communicate and we understand some of the basics of passing, let's look at choosing a hero. Now, when you're choosing a hero, you get the same screen you used to get before with the usual selection of tribes at the top. None of that has changed at all. There is a blue portal on the right you can now click on, and that will show your teammates options to choose from, thus giving you a little bit more ways where you can coordinate with your teammate, because some of these heroes' powers are very important that you understand what your teammate is going to be taking, because there are some hero powers that interact really well together. And, it doesn't really matter if you go completely two separate routes, but it really does, help you to take heroes that are going to work together. If you want to play a hero like Cho'Gall, you have to work together. You have to choose the same thing. So decisions like this are very important. Pay attention, discuss with your teammate what you think would be the best combinations with the tribes in, and try to make a sound plan right off the bat before the game starts. How you do this with emotes? Green check mark, red check marks. Those would be my thought, because you can go check on theirs. You can go click on their portal and then check mark the heroes you think they shouldn't take. But other than that, that's kind of where the limitations begin and end. And hey, if you're finding this useful in any way, shape, or form, please hit the like, subscribe button, help the channel grow. It really does make a difference, and it really does help a lot. I would like to be a content creator officially from Blizzard. I need to hit 5,000 subs, so we're trying to get there. Thanks again. All right, we've gone over a lot of different basics of the game, but let's talk about who we're going to be fighting and how the combat works. So if you look at the hero portraits on the left, it's going to show you all the groups of teams, and they're going to be one on top and one on the bottom. And what's going to happen is the people on top are going to fight each other first. So in the case of the example I'm giving you here, it's going to be me playing Cho versus the Floop. So the way that's going to work is we are going to fight until one of us runs out of minions. When those minions are gone, it is then going to sub in the team from the other player on the side that lost, and that's going to continue the fight until the first person has no minions, and then it will sub in the second team from the team that was winning that first exchange. So the way it'll play out is it'll play out till there's no more minions left. And if, say, one side solos the other, let's say the first team wins and the second team never even gets to fight the second player, whatever space is left at the end will be filled by minions from the team member who never got to fight. So if I fight and I solo both teams by myself, but I only have one minion left, 6 of the minions from my teammate's team will come in to help determine damage. So there's going to be some times where, yeah, it's going to be painful. You're going to run into someone super strong and they're just going to solo both teams, and you're going to be like, what just happened? But that's probably because their teammate is super weak because they were feeding all the really good stuff to one side. And if the order had played out different, you would have blown through the other side first and then gotten to the much more challenging person. It depends on how the matchups play up. You never really have any control over that, of who's going to be fighting who. You just see it's assigned at the beginning, at the end of every turn, randomly by the system. And damage in the end will be dealt just like a normal game. If there's 2 teams left, there'll be no more damage cap. But if there's 3 or 4 teams, there still is going to be a damage cap of 15, using all the normal rules associated with that. So you calculate damage just like you normally would before, where you add up the tier of the player who's fighting at the end of the combat and the tiers of all the minions to determine damage. You win? Simple, same as before. Run all your opponents to 0 health. Nothing complicated there, nothing crazy. It's just a normal game of Battlegrounds at that point. But what you have to remember is communication is king in this mode. Nothing matters more, even more than RNG, I feel, than good communication. If you are actively talking with your teammate, figuring out what's a triple for them, what's a triple for you, what direction everyone's going in, you are going to have an infinitely better time at the game, and you are going to do much better in every game. So definitely communicate. That is the most important thing I can tell you to help you win. All the other basics and fundamentals of the game of trying to get pairs, trying to get triples, looking for directions applies here. Big difference in duos is there's two of you that gotta communicate. And that's it. That's all the basics I have for duos right now. You know, there's a lot to discuss about minions and strategies and different ways we can make all these cards work together. But overall, right now, the hurdles are going to be figuring out communication and just the basics of the mode being slightly different from your standard mode and it being a little higher stress because your play doesn't affect just you. If you decide to goof up and just, heck with that, I'm just going to concede, you're affecting your teammate also. So it's a little more painful in that regard. So there's definitely going to be some growing pains while we figure things out. But these cover the basics and I hope they help you out. You know, get through that initial game when you at least jump in to limit the number of surprises. If you have anything obvious I missed that should be included here that isn't just like a tip or a trick, but something that's actually, you know, important to just the fundamentals of the game, definitely please comment, let me know. Tell me what you think. Did I hit everything? What did I miss? I hope you learned a few things, folks, and I hope you had a good time. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Later.